Following a deranged performance before Congress yesterday, Florida woman and Attorney General Pam Bondi is facing a chorus of calls for her resignation or firing. And get this, the call is coming from inside the House of MAGA itself. If you found Bondi's ranting more in line with a Florida crackhead as opposed to the highest lawyer in the land, get comfortable. Bondi could be headed south for a very long winter. This is the David Reddish Show. Welcome to the show, my beautiful viewers, brought to you, as always, by Occupy Democrats. I'm your host. And quickly, before I begin, an announcement. I will be on an abbreviated schedule tomorrow since I'm having surgery. Delightful, I know. The good news is that it's a minor revision to the oral surgery I had last fall. Much less invasive, and I should be back full-time by Monday. Just pray I don't swell up too much. If I do, I'll either do the show in silhouette or in a veil, which maybe could be stylish. Anyway, thank you for all your well wishes or gifts to my recovery fund on Ko-Fi in advance. But I'll keep you all posted. But all right, here we go. Yesterday saw what I can only describe as one of the biggest Capitol Hill meltdowns in history, as Attorney General Pam Bondi sparred with a bipartisan group of lawmakers over ICE activity and the Epstein files. Need a reminder?
You showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question
ridiculous.
the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Oh, my Lord. Here you have serious lawmakers and Bondi acting in a way the drunkest members of the Real Housewives franchise would find embarrassing. And Bondi should be embarrassed given who she offended. Stay tuned. Numerous analysts have suggested that Bondi's combativeness was made for an audience of one. Donald Trump, a man known for his own combative temperament and lapses in judgment. This morning, CNN confirmed as much.
Kevin Liptak joining us right now from the White House for more on this. And what more are you hearing this morning from the White House about what happened yesterday?
Yeah, and it was almost a Trumpian appearance from the Attorney General, and I think that particular aspect of it will probably have gone over fairly well. But listen, the White House has made no secret that it is less than thrilled at how the Attorney General has handled the Epstein matter. You know, Susie Wiles, the Chief of Staff, who is ostensibly one of Pam Bondi's friends, said that she had whiffed the entire thing, which I think sort of embodies how the West Wing has viewed this generally.
But if you think the White House staff
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you. So.
Interesting how she didn't say, we didn't do that. We wouldn't do that. We have integrity. No, she just said, I'm not going to discuss that with you, Senator. Kind of confirms that it happened.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. And you won't do it today, but eventually you will.
Pam Bondi laid a trap for these dorks in Congress, and they walked right into it. What am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you. By now, you've seen how absolutely thirsty these members of Congress have been to see the unredacted Epstein files. First, they were not redacted enough, and now they're too redacted. And all they want to do is go and see the complete and total unredacted files. So the Department of Justice said, hey, we can do that. Why don't you guys just come down to the Department of Justice? You can use our computers and you can look at the entire unredacted files. Now, what the members of Congress did not fully realize was that if you went down to the Department of Justice and used their computers, they were actually logging every single thing that you guys looked at. And because each of you had to log in with your own personal credentials, they knew who was looking at what and when. Now, I guess these members of Congress did not fully understand that they were being surveilled until Miss Pam Bondi had her hearing this week, and a camera caught this picture, which is a printout of Miss Jayapal's search history in the Jeffrey Epstein files. So now all of these members of Congress are spitting mad because they did not fully comprehend that the Justice Department was going to be surveilling their search history, but it's the government. And you were using their computers. I don't understand what these members of Congress are so mad about. But here's what I would like, Pamela. I would like the fully unredacted search histories of everyone that went from Congress to look at the unredacted files.
There's more files. Channel 4 News reported that the files were first estimated to be somewhere between 20 and 40 terabytes of information because the capacity of the drives was somewhere between 40 and 50 terabytes. And emails from March 10th, 2025 state that there's a total of 14.6 terabytes of data. And in that is a split of what they call optical media and then obscene media. The total files that we've gotten so far adds up to about 3 million documents, about 300 gigabytes of data. That looks like it might only be about 2% of the total files recovered.
Pam Bondi, have you investigated literally anybody in the files? The S&P 500 is at an all-time high, and so is the Dow Jones. Isn't that more important than protecting children? Pam Bondi, do you have any evidence that President Trump is criminally liable in these files? No, I do not. Oh, really? Well, here's evidence that you just lied in front of Congress. Here we go again with your theatrics. Pam, you literally just lied on live TV, and the entire world has access to the evidence on a government website that proves you're lying. How dare you accuse me of lying? Pam, why are you protecting criminals that we now know ate children? We know that President Trump's the greatest president ever and didn't do anything wrong. Pam, will you interview the victims and pursue justice for them? What victims? The victims right behind you? I don't see anybody.
24 hours out, and Washington is still wrestling with what happened yesterday because, the Attorney General of the United States came to Congress to submit her leadership and her department to congressional oversight. Often that oversight is tense. Yes, often there are fiery disagreements. Often there is political grandstanding. But there are usually some answers and some respect and some deference to the separation of powers, even in the face of hostile questioning from the opposing party, which happens a lot. Yesterday, though, there was none of that for the opposing party or even for a Republican who was pushing back. And now it is not just Democrats who are excoriating Pam Bondi's performance. It's MAGA allies as well, lots of whom exert big influence in the far-right podcasting and social media world. And also some more mainstream Republican voices like conservative radio host Eric Erickson, who was aghast at her attempting to deflect an Epstein question by invoking the stock market. Quote, when the Attorney General of the United States is asked why she has prosecuted no one related to Jeffrey Epstein, and this is her answer, she should be fired or resign. But neither will happen, which is another reason the Democrats are going to have a good election year. There is also Republican frustration on Capitol Hill from Thomas Massie, who she personally insulted yesterday when he tried to get answers about illegal redactions. Reminder, Massie votes with Republicans 96% of the time. Also, House Oversight Chair James Comer, who said she's made the Epstein disclosure harder than it needs to be. Even Speaker Mike Johnson had a little bit of an issue, who, when asked about Bondi and that printout we showed you yesterday of Pramila Jayapal's Epstein search history, well, he admitted that DOJ probably shouldn't be tracking members when they're viewing unredacted materials.
She didn't answer anything. She came here just ready to talk about the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, which seems kind of crazy to me.
This has been a lot more painful than it should have. I think that a full disclosure of all these documents many months ago would have probably put this to bed. But it does appear that the federal government failed the victims of Epstein. From what we can gather, it doesn't feel like the government followed through with many of the people that they identified as co-conspirators.
I think members should obviously have the right to peruse those at their own speed and with their own discretion, and I don't think it's appropriate for anybody to be tracking that. So I will echo that to anybody involved with the DOJ, and I'm sure it was an oversight. That's my guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I went over to the department yesterday for a couple of hours to review some of the unredacted materials, and I am looking forward to your detailed explanation for why you have withheld almost half of the documents, which is required by the bill. Now, obviously, there are 3 million documents, so I didn't get through much. But one thing I didn't see was the client list that you said you had on your desk a year ago. I did, however, find a couple of important documents. An 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York and a draft indictment from Florida against Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. For reasons that I cannot understand nor are permitted by the bill, they were still redacted, even for members of Congress. So, Ms. Bondi, will you commit right here to immediately providing those two documents in unredacted form to members of Congress? Not a complicated question.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged.
Okay. They're not privileged, but we will discuss that later. I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted, and it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that in 2019?
So will you unredact this? Will you
were
unredact
lead
this?
counsel on that. Privileged.
I'm asking you, will you unredact this?
Privileged.
Privileged, of course. I look forward to discussing this more. Now, these are obviously improper redactions.
And let me stop for a minute.
I'm talking.
If they're not privileged,
quiet.
Don't yell at me. If they're not
Mr. Chairman, would you stop the clock? This is on your time. It's not on Mr. Goldman.
If they're not
Even though
privileged,
you used your improper redactions.
You'll like my answer.
Even though you used improper redactions to protect Donald Trump and other predators associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you did the exact opposite thing with the survivors and victims of this scheme. So their identification information was really the only thing required to be redacted, and it was not. And it's clear this was not a mistake. This was not by accident. This was not because you only had 30 days when you really used 75, and that doesn't even include all the hours last March that you were redacting it. But I'll tell you why it's clear it wasn't a mistake. There is an email entitled Epstein Victim List. There are 32 names. One is redacted. 31 are not. So someone looked at it and decided to redact something. And I will tell you that that is clearly intentional to intimidate these survivors and victims. Now, in an interview last week...
How will you tell me that's intentional?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche...
You can't go off script.
...said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you, who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses
Gentlemen, this time has expired.
And I yield back.
We will go to the good gentleman from North Carolina, Congressman Knott. Thank
May
you.
I have a moment, Congressman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Here we go. Here's the photograph. This is why he wanted to repeat everything that had been said previously on Epstein. This is his state, New York. You probably don't even know who this is. Wahid Mohammed from Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm no longer a prosecutor.
Convicted of assault. Wow, he represents New York. Wow, yet he doesn't care about the illegal aliens convicted of crimes. Assault and homicide. No longer a prosecutor, so he doesn't care about his constituents. Here we go. Arson, El Salvador, Miguel Palacios. Fermin Flores Ramales, Mexico.
Let's talk about the 70% of immigrants who are detained without a criminal conviction or arrest.
So Pam Bondi got in front of Congress yesterday and lied and threw a temper tantrum and acted like she was 5 years old, only for an audience of one person, and that's Trump, so he can say, yeah, you stuck it to him. But MAGA's not even buying it. Her ridiculous claims about there's no Epstein list and all the lies that this DOJ and FBI are telling, not even MAGA loyalists are buying it. Here we have Joe Rogan.
Going on, so.
Oh. FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men. File show.
So there you go.
Oh, there you go. Who says that? What's that source?
Yeah, it's going around I just found the place that was showing the headline. It was going around the internet today.
Today?
Yeah, the AP. It's the AP reporting it. Yeah.
Today. Oh, I thought that was from 2005.
This is like the FBI saying
I was like,
today.
That's the gaslightiest gaslighting shit I've ever heard in my life.
Whoa. That's coming from the manosphere, the gaslighting I've ever heard. And, you know, we've heard so many times, Joe Rogan's who got Donald Trump elected. So even he's not buying it.
Yeah, I don't really believe that Joe Rogan got Donald Trump elected.
I don't either.
I don't buy that narrative. I don't buy that one podcaster has that kind of power over the electorate. But the situation with Joe Rogan is sometimes things are so obvious that even Trump loyalists, Trump apologists, Elon Musk loyalists, and Elon Musk apologists cannot defend it. And so what this is a larger thing to me than any sort of credibility to Joe Rogan is that the evidence is so overwhelming that you cannot say it's a hoax, that even he is saying, this is insane, and Trump's government is trying to gaslight us.
And then we have one more, just MAGA, who has, this man, Tim Pool, has been in the White House press office asking questions to the White House press secretary. Here are his thoughts on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
Cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the conspirator documents, there's a document saying that they were investigating co-conspirators Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children. Dan Bongino was like, look, a lot of these things were hearsay and, you know, fake tips that were uncorroborated. All of that is true, but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos.
Here's the thing. Like you said, the evidence is so overwhelming, but the cracks are starting to form. And hopefully they will continue to form, because there is no doubt Pam Bondi, full stop, covering up everything. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, all of these people are covering up for Donald Trump and the people that he associates.
Pam Bondi turned her congressional hearing into a circus, and it backfired on Donald Trump as it exposed him in a major way. Now, if you missed it today, Pam Bondi was in front of Congress for a hearing on the files and how the DOJ has handled them. And Bondi tried to turn the whole thing into a circus as a way to distract from the files and get people talking about anything but that. But it ended up backfiring because a hearing that would have garnered very little attention ended up getting more eyeballs on it, and the American people are going to tune in now. And what they are going to hear is all the ways that Donald Trump is mentioned in the files. This is how this backfired and blew up in her face. On top of that, they're going to hear how the DOJ has fumbled the handling of the files, how they didn't protect the victims, how they have been trying to protect co-conspirators. This was a major fumble by Donald Trump and his administration. And it has to be thought at this point that they just don't care about the midterms anymore. They are just going all in on acting like children, and this is what we can expect.